Write a function rshift a comma n in Python which accepts a list A of numbers and n is a numeric value by which all elements of the list are shifted to the right. Meaning, I want to shift all the elements of list A by n positions to the right. Example, suppose your list A is 10, 20, 30, 40, 12 and 11. Suppose the value of n is 2. The meaning is I want to shift all the elements of list A by 2 positions to the right. So this 10 should be shifted by 2 positions to the right. So position 1, position 2, your 10 must appear here. Now 20 should be shifted by 2 positions to the right. Position 1, position 2. So 20 should appear here and so on. So 30 should appear here. 40 should appear here. Now 12. This is one position to the right. Next position to the right is this. Okay. So your 12 must appear here. Finally, 11 should be shifted by 2 positions to the right. So 1 position to the right means 11 should appear here. 2 position to the right means 11 should appear here. Okay, 11 appears here. So if this is the input and if the value of n equal to 2, your output should be this one. Now, you consider list A with the 6 elements 10, 20, 30, 40, 12 and 11. Okay, the state diagram of the list A is like this. Now for the first element of the list, the index is 0. For the second element of the list, the index is 1 and so on. How do you get the number of elements present in a list? There is a built-in function by the name len. Within bracket you can write name of the list. So this returns the number of elements present in list A. Let me store the answer in a variable s. S means size of list A. In this example, s is 6. So this is upper bound of the list, and upper bound equals number of elements minus 1 or size minus 1. So this is s minus 1. If this is s minus 1, certainly this is s minus 2. Okay. Now, I want to shift all the elements of list by n positions to the right. In order to derive the code, let me take n as 1. So I am going to shift all the elements of list by 1 position to the right. Now if I shift this element by 1 position to the right, here 12 appears. Now you can see that the data 11 is permanently lost. So here also 12, here also 12. So this data 11 is permanently lost. So what I want to say is, before you shift the element by 1 position to the right or by n positions to the right, this element must be stored in a temporary variable, and only after that you should start shifting. Now how do you get this element? It is a of 5. 5 is an example. In general, it is a of s minus 1. So a of s minus 1 will give you the element 11 that you can store in a temporary variable t, because assignment operator means right hand side is assigned to left hand side. So now your temporary variable t contains example 11. Now this is shifted by 1 position to the right, this is shifted by 1 position to the right, and so on, like this. Okay, now after shifting this element by 1 position to the right, this 11 which is there in temporary variable t, this 11 should appear here. So finally t should be assigned to a of 0. So let me write that code. T should be assigned to a of 0. Now I am going to write the code for shifting the elements by 1 position to the right. Okay, now in order to shift this element by 1 position to the right, let me take this as I. So this is saved in variable I. So certainly this is I minus 1. So in order to shift this element by one position to the right, the method is, if this is I minus 1, this is A of I minus 1. If this is I, this position is A of I. So here A of I minus 1 should be assigned to A of I. Okay, so let me write the code. Equal to sign is the assignment operator. So right hand side A of I minus 1 is assigned to left hand side A of I. Now if you want to shift this element by one position to the right, this must be taken as the value of I. So naturally this becomes your new I minus 1, and here also if this is I minus 1, certainly this is A of I minus 1. If this is the new value of I, this position is A of I. So A of I minus 1 should be assigned to A of I. So statement is one and the same. A of I minus 1 is assigned to A of I, but the value of I changes. Now I is 4. Similarly, if you want to shift this element by one position to the right, the value of I should be taken as 3, so that this becomes your I minus 1. If this is I minus 1, this is A of I minus 1. If this is the new value of I, this is position A of I. So here also A of I minus 1 should be assigned to A of I. Remember, the statement is the same, but the value of I changes. Now your I becomes 3. Similarly, if you want to shift this element by one position to the right, what must be the value of I? I should be taken as 2, so that automatically this will be I minus 1. And if this is I minus 1, you know that this is A of I minus 1. If this is I, certainly this position is A of I. Here also A of I minus 1 should be assigned to A of I. So statement no change, but the value of I becomes 2. Finally, if I want to shift this element by one position to the right, the value of I must be taken as 1. So 0 becomes I minus 1. Again A of I minus 1 should be assigned to A of I. Statement is the same, but the value of I becomes 1. Okay, so finally the value of I becomes 1. So you can see that statement is one and the same, and your I varies from 5. Example, in general S minus 1. So your I varies from S minus 1 to 1. So how do you get all the numbers from S minus 1 to 1? Backward traveling is difficult for you to understand. So let me rephrase the question. How do you get all the numbers from 1 to S minus 1? That is easy. You can write the code like this: for I in range 1 comma S, because range function returns all the integers starting at 1 ending with a S minus 1. So here you get all the numbers from all the integers from 1 to S minus 1. And in this problem, I want all the numbers from S minus 1 to 1. So first S minus 1, after that S minus 2, after that S minus 3, and so on till 1. So I should reverse this. And how can you reverse that? There is a function by the name reversed. Okay, so this function will reverse this. So range function returns 1 to S minus 1. Because of reverse, you get S minus 1 to 1, which means first S minus 1, after that S minus 2, and finally 1. Okay, so when I gets S minus 1, this shifting will take place. When I takes S minus 2, this shifting will take place. Finally, when I takes 1, this shifting will take place. Okay, so this is the piece of code that you make use of to shift all the elements by one position to the right. Let me rewrite this code in a beautiful way. So initially, the length of list A number of elements present in list A is stored in a variable S. So S contains number of elements present in list A or size of list A, and this is the code that we have derived. So using this code, you can shift all the elements by one position to the right. Now if you want to shift all the elements by two positions to the right, this piece of code should be repeated two times. Now how can you repeat the code two times? You can make use of for j in range 1, 3. Why did I use variable name j? Because I is already used. Now range function returns all the integers from 1 to 3 minus 1, 1 to 2. So here you get 1 and a 2. When j is equal to 1, this is executed once, so all the elements are shifted by one position to the right. When j is equal to 2, this is again executed for the second time. So again the elements are shifted by one position to the right, which means now altogether the elements are shifted by two positions to the right. So in order to shift all the elements by two positions to the right, repeat this code two times, and in order to repeat the code two times, you can write the loop like this for j in range 1, 2 plus 1. So if you want to shift all the elements by n positions to the right, here instead of 3, it becomes n plus 1. Because when it is 2, it is 2 plus 1. So if it is n, it is n plus 1. Now this piece of code should be inside a function. How can you create a function? Start with the keyword def followed by name of the function. This is given in the question paper and you are supposed to use the same function name. List should be passed as an argument. N should be passed as an argument. You want to shift all the elements of list A by n positions to the right. The function header should end with a colon. Don't forget the document string should be written. Here you should write some document string. So this function shifts all the elements of list A by n positions to the right. Now my next video tutor explains this function by taking an example. I am going to iterate this function using an example so that you get a better understanding about the Python code.